America and South America. So patients with renal failure is still on waiting list, and this is abroad, not in Iraq. There is a scoring system for priority for the patients with renal failure. And there is a score between 0 to 10 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each point has 2 points. HLA matching positive, 2 points. HLA reactive antibodies positive, -2 points. Waiting time more than 5 years, +2 points. Age of the patient's children preferable than adults. And in children, 4 to 6 years is preferable than 12 to 6. And this 12 to 6 is preferable than 18 to 21. Sorry, this is 21. Why? Because because kidney produce erythropoietin, which is important in the development, it's very important in the children. And CMV negative. If CMV cytomegalovirus negative, so the patient had +2 points. If it is positive, so the patient had -2 points. So each patient had more score, so more chance to have renal transplantation. And this is the kidney. And this kidney was donated from the donor, and it is ready for the transplantation. This is the donor, donate his kidney to this patient, and the surgeon transplanted in the right iliac fossa. This is the patient with transplanted kidney in the right iliac fossa. This is the procedure. The end result, as mentioned before, either accepted or rejected. Accepted is better, while rejection may be humoral, currently more often called antibody-mediated rejection, or cellular, or combination humoral and cellular. Transplant immunology, the immune system recognizes graft from someone else as foreign substance. It triggers response via immune cells and substances they produce, cytokines and antibodies. So this is immunity, either humoral immunity or cellular immunity. And types of rejection. There are many classifications of the rejection, but the simplest one is hyperacute rejection due to preformed antibodies produced due to previous blood transfusion or previous transplantation, or due to previous multiple pregnancy, multipara patients. And this is occur within minutes to hours after transplantation, while the patients in the theater, on the operating table, the rejection occur. And this is due to preformed antibodies. So this is the blood vessels, renal blood vessels, and this is the antibody which is produced previously in the patients will attack the donor antigen, and this leads to activation of the complement. As you know, the principal antigen antibody immune complex lead to complement activation, and this leads to attraction to neutrophil and lead to formation of the microthrombi, and this lead to thrombosis, and the end result of the thrombosis, necrosis and renal failure. So there is an increase in blood urea, serum creatinine in the patients. And antibody-mediated rejection requires the presence of circulating donor-specific antibodies, DSA, evidence interaction of these antibodies with the endothelium, usually manifested as C4D, which is done and detected by renal biopsy for detection of this deposit in the peritubular capillaries on biopsy tissue, and histological evidence of tissue injury. The second rejection, acute rejection, which is a process of vascular and parenchymal injury mediated by T cells and antibodies, begins after first week of transplantation. So the patient well after operation and go home, and later after a week to 2 weeks he developed a rejection, increased blood urea and serum creatinine, and the mechanism is due to stimulation of the T lymphocytes. So it is cellular mediated immunity in addition to production of the antibody, but the main is cellular immunity, which is lead to endotheliitis. It's due to T cytotoxic, due to antibody-dependent cell-mediated cytotoxicity, and this leads to inflammation. And cellular rejection appears as mononuclear infiltration of tubular basement membrane, lead to tubulitis, or the vessels of the vessels. That's called intimal arthritis. And this is the direct allorecognition and the indirect allorecognition. This is the mechanism how the T cells recognize the renal tissue as foreign substance. And this is done by two mechanisms. Direct allorecognition. Direct allorecognition can be achieved by dendritic cells, which is expressed the donor antigen on the MHC. And this leads to a stimulation of the T cells of the patient. While indirect allorecognition, this is the renal tissue, which is expressed on its cell surface, the MHC, on this renal tissue. And on this MHC, the donor antigen. And this leads to stimulate patient dendritic cells, and patient dendritic cells process this donor antigen and express to T lymphocyte of the patients. So here there is direct recognition of the donor antigen by the donor dendritic cells, while in the indirect method the patient's T cells recognize the donor antigen through the patient's dendritic cells, because dendritic cells uptake and process of the allogenic MHC molecules by recipient antigen presenting cell, recipient, which is mean patient's dendritic cells. The third one is a chronic rejection, which is characterized by fibrosis, graft arteriosclerosis, intimal smooth muscle proliferation, and luminal occlusion due to delayed type hypersensitivity reaction, which is type 4 hypersensitivity reaction. This occurs years after transplantation. And this is the blood vessel of the kidney, and there is a stimulation of T delayed type hypersensitivity T cells, and this leads to a proliferation of the smooth blood vessel of the arteriole or artery. And here we see the increase in the thickness of the wall of the blood vessel. Why this increase in the thickness? And there is proliferation of the smooth muscle. This is due to secretion of transforming growth factor by the macrophage, and this leads to smooth muscle migration and proliferation. This is lead to smooth muscle migration and proliferation, lead to fibrosis, and lead to luminal obliteration and occlusion of the blood